Okay, we're live.
Yes, welcome everyone to this week's Stopping the Violence webinar that we do on a weekly basis every Wednesday from 2 to 3. My name is Reverend Zachary Oliver, and I'm your host. And so today is just an open discussion because during the course of our webinars, I've been stressing the fact that with all these incredible speakers, previous speakers, and what they bring to the table, must come to a national conference where we can all get together and bring the best practices together, learn from one another, and see where we can do a holistic national stop the violence approach and execute something that can produce a sustainable and measurable change within the violence that is prevailing in our communities and as a nation as a whole. Actually, we began this whole process of bringing this webinar to the forefront based on the founder, Mother Moon's desire to really tackle the issue of guns. So we began to deal with gun violence. But what we realized, it was not just gun violence that was wreaking havoc. It was the root causes of why a person may pick up a gun or pick up any kind of object or pick up anything or just pick up their hand and strike someone that that will cause harm to their fellow man. So what are those root causes became a particularly targeted question that we consistently ask and that we began to discover through the various speakers who've come on, from law enforcement to religious leaders, and from religious leaders to social leaders and community activists, and just a plethora of those concerned individuals and institutions that were created by certain persons, and also those institutions that are also existing that are dealing with violence, not excluding the prison situation, the recidivism, education. All those things play a critical role in why people are exhibiting, if you will, violent behavior, picking up guns, picking up dangerous objects, and harming and murdering their fellow brother and their fellow sister. So we have, sorry about that. I decided to have a discussion because my goal is to have a conference this year to galvanize all of those speakers and those, as many as we can, from the different sectors, and bring them together and discuss how we can bring a national solution through their best practices and how we can collaborate the best practices to bring forth a really, what I always say, a sustainable and measurable solution to the problem. And what does that take? And what would that entail? Again, what I found out through the various people that have come on, they're doing an incredible job. Not only that, it's just like they're islands on their own. They're silos, lone silos that are in New Jersey, one is in Kansas, and one is over here. But they're doing, what they're doing is actually bringing results, but maybe on a smaller scale. So how do we magnify those results on a larger scale? And what is missing in their construct that they can pull from another construct and to make it more of a whole purpose and a holistic type of approach to dealing with the violence in America, which of course, once we can deal with the violence in America, we can spread that throughout the world, because in reality, America is really a prototype of the world. So I want to thank everyone for coming on. And today I've asked my dear sister and colleague and dear friend, Dr. Madeline Clark, and the rest of you, to discuss the topic. Why is it feasible at this time to have a national conference and on stopping the violence. And not only that, what do we think that is needed? What kind of topics that you think that we need to implement in order to generate a very succinct discussion and motivating people come together to say, yes, let's put this piece together, let's put that piece together. But I want to thank Dr. Madeline for always coming on and being like many times a co-host or a follow-up or giving follow-up comments that are always very strategic and very meaningful. So I just wanted to open up and just welcome Dr. Madden, and I know she's adjusting right now for coming on, and we can begin to discuss that topic of why is it feasible right now to have a national to plan and create a national conference. Thank you. Welcome, my sister. How are you?
God bless you. All is well. I am well. Greetings to everyone. Reverend Zachary Oliver. I'm gonna get that name right.
Vagary.
We're in the hour where things are not getting any better. And like you said earlier, people are operating in silos. But to collaborate and come together to be able to put a strategic plan together to go out into the communities. One thing I think is very important is that we get the education and the understanding of the root cause of what's happening. I think it's also important that we be able to, on some level, solicit the parents of uh, of young adults, of youth, to come together to collectively to have conversations with them to see where they are, where they plan to go, and try to offer some kind of structure as to how to get there. Sometimes parents don't have the tools that they need. We all know that kids don't come with a handbook, you know. So in this process, I think the more we lend ourselves to understanding what's going on in the different households, the more we'll be able to offer them the assistance that's needed in this hour. Um, we talk about the value of youth, the value of offering them respect. But along with that comes the to be able to set a precedence for the parents to be able to speak to their child or to affirm their child prior to going out into the community. I think the school system is a great segue or pipeline to really be able to offer these services, because between the parents and the school system, and with the school system, that would be more of a prevention before a child start getting into trouble. So maybe we could start, earlier on, just talking about anger and anger management, to talk about conflict resolutions, to talk about problem solving, all of those things. So for everyone that we have had come on, each person had a outstanding dynamic. It's how we get that information into the community and into the uh, hands of those that actually needs it.
Yeah, thank you. I think that I was having a succinct conversation with a very old friend of mine, and his wife is a teacher, and some of the things that he said that the kids said to her, and the behaviors that were executed within the classroom was unbelievable. things that comes out of those kids' mouth, but he did say that there was an issue with family, was an issue with the home, but also he said, he brought up a topic too, was the issue of the school system compromising on their responsibility as well. You have certain teachers, certain principals are not looking at, they're looking at, like for instance, he was saying one young man would come in to the school system and he would act up, stand on a desk, and knock down stuff and everything else. So they sent kind of like a mentor or a guy who he would look up to, and so he comes in and takes him down to the basketball court and shoot hoops with him, and that was enough to. This boy needs just a dad to shoot hoops with him. And the boy comes back and does the exact same thing in the class because he didn't solve anything. So he was saying there was an issue with those in administrative positions that also needs more education and more recognition of what really is needed, with even bringing the involvement with parents. So you have according to what I was listening to yesterday, you have like you have two webs or entities that are blocking the way for that true substantial road to helping those kids resolve any of those issues that they need to address in a meaningful way. So I feel that was listening to that as well. So there needs to be something in educational construct, even dealing with administration and also the teachers that are involved.
Okay.
Are you on two? Now you can unmute from the top. You need to unmute that.
Yes, I was on my phone, so I needed to get in the house and get situated. You know, another thing, Reverend Oliver, is these kids face a lot of mental health issues. Now, when we think about mental health issues, automatically we go to psychological, crazy, these type of things. But if there's a chemical imbalance in a child's brain, then he doesn't learn the way the other kids learn. So when he doesn't learn and adjust to the classroom the way the other kids learn and adjust to the classroom, then he's considered as being a disruptive child. So, but what's really causing him to be disruptive? Is it a home situation, a lifestyle thing, or is it something going on with him that no one's physically aware of? We take kids to doctor's appointments and they go through the immunization process until they're about 5 years old. After that, they don't really go to a doctor's office unless they're sick or something else is going on. But when a child begins to display certain behaviors, it's not necessarily a behavior that requires discipline. It needs to go a little bit deeper. So, with that being said, with the school system, the school system is completely different than it was when we were kids. You know what I mean? Because you had teachers that pulled you down out to the side that actually sat down and talked to you. You know what I mean? They didn't label you. They didn't just put you out of the class. They talked to you to try to find out what was going on. And even if you weren't old enough to really articulate the problem, you were able to give enough information to pique the teacher's curiosity, and they will follow up with your parent. Now it's straight discipline, it's straight discipline. So when a child is in school and it starts that early, that he's labeled or she's labeled with with discipline, then it might be labeled discipline, but it could very well be dyslexia. You know what I mean? Because he sees things different. And what a child does is a child, well, and I've seen it in some adults as well, but a child will act out to get attention. So in that attention seeking process, then again, there's a question as to why are they seeking attention. So it's so many things that go along with that, but each system that a child is involved in have to work together and able to move that child in the right direction. Now we go with the scripture that says, "Train up a child the way the way they should go, and when they are older, they shall not depart from it." We take that scripturally and biblically and spiritually, but the same applies to that child's gift or talents. If a child is constantly beating on something, give them some drums. Give them some drums and let them fine tune that. Or if a child has a behavior that's identified to say they can't sit still, or their attention span, well, the average child's attention span is only 6 minutes. So if you know that, you have some that can go a little longer, but if you see that child constantly going into that state after the 6 minutes, then maybe the teacher should be able to identify that and say, okay, 6 minutes, that's long enough for him. Let's give him a break, even if it's a bathroom break. You know what I mean? So when we talk about these these root problems, it starts not only in the realm of the home, even though that's the main foundation, but sometimes the parent is so busy with other children working or whatever, then they don't see it. So if I think that my child is a good child at home because he comes home from school, what homework he has to do, he do the homework, and then he runs around and plays, that energy that he's exerting while he's playing, I will think that I got a pretty good kid. But if he gets in school and if he has a different behavior, that teacher should be able to communicate that to that parent, and they should be able to sit down and actually see again what the root cause is that's going on with that children. If it's a mental health issue, if it's a physical issue, whatever that need is, to get that child on a solid foundation. We talk about the single parent home and we talk about the dual parent home. But even in those conversations, we could have the same thing going on in the same households with those kids. So we can't group them all together. We have to somehow touch them individually. And those are all preventive measures. But when we talk to where we are now, like in Indianapolis, last week, it might have been 2 weeks now, there was a mass shooting downtown. 7 kids got shot. The youngest one was 12. They caught the guy. He was 17 years old. So from the 17-year-old to the 12-year-old, what's going on in their minds, but more importantly, where are they getting these guns? Which is a conversation that seems like it doesn't want to be discussed, because they're not finding them on the street. Because if they were finding them on the streets, we would be finding them on the streets. So how are they getting these guns? So it's a huge problem. Now I notice more and more cities are discussing it as being a public health issue because of the age of the children. But there's a lot of resources that has come to this program that they're willing to work in the communities to come to some type of resolve.
There's so many categories that I was thinking about as you were speaking in reference to these particular categories of dealing with young people, and really looking at them individually and not collectively. And I think that's what has happened too. And there's a lot of we see the repercussions of that. But also going back to like the mental health piece, how do you see that working? How do you see that being a resolve? Or how do you think what should be the approach dealing with the mental health? So we're talking about specific communities, but there are other communities out there that are doing violent crimes, but it's not always connected to their home. It's connected with other psychological issues that they're facing out there. So there's a mass shooting. There's other stuff that affects people's mental health that causes them to pick up guns and stuff to kill other people. So how do you see that being categorized as America as a whole, looking at the different demographics of different communities?
Well, America as a whole has set back and allowed so many things to happen. Like all of these different states have the what is it called? No permit carry. Okay, no permit carry. You already have a state that has problems with gun violence, and then you're going to pass a bill for a no commit carry. That to me was a slap in the face for anyone that has any thoughts on who should carry a gun. To be able to carry, I understand that everyone has the right to bear arms. I get it. However, it's not the people that's purchasing these guns too often anyway, legally, that are out committing these crimes. It's like you always say, Reverend Oliver, a gun is an inanimate object. If you lay it down and nobody touch it, it'll never go off by itself. So to put this gun law that there's no that you have the permit to carry, you don't have to have a permit to carry, but you need a permit to drive a car. You don't have to have a permit to carry, but there's no rules or guidelines as far as any type of safety, as any type of going to the gun range to make sure you know how to handle this thing. You just put it out there that anyone can carry a gun. The problem is, again, where are they getting these guns? If you're giving permission for anyone to carry a gun, it tells me, and I could be thinking clearly outside of the box, but if you give permission for anyone to carry a gun, you have some idea that they have where they're getting the access to the guns. That's just from my perspective. And sometimes people tell me, Madeline, you think too wide and too deep. But I sit back and think about it, because you need a driver's license to drive a car. You know, you need insurance to drive a car. They want you to take driver's ed to drive the car. It's all of these things that line up for you to step into that place and that responsibility as an adult. So we look at it from state to state, and then we look at it that it's not confined to one state, but it's all over the world. It's all over the world. However, In the United States, there has been boundaries. Those boundaries have been dropped and those boundaries have been crossed. My husband used the illustration. I do a soul care class on the first Tuesdays of the month. It's called Color Me Bless. And what we do, we color. And when you color, it takes you away from everything else. It's one of the activities that allows you to use both hemispheres of your brain. My husband made a point when he preached on Sunday, and he said, when I was 5 years old, I traced the outline. When you're tracing the outline, you're learning boundaries because nobody wants to color outside the lines. But as adults, you've learned boundaries and you no longer trace because you know to color inside the line. You know what I mean? So with these, and society has allowed so much what we call freedom in these particular areas to say it's okay until it happens to one of their loved ones. Now, I think the young man in Chicago, they're really using their parents as an example because he killed those four students, four of his classmates, and those parents were charged and they were sentenced to 15 years apiece. So in that process, does that give the next parent a thought to say, well, maybe I should have my weapons locked up? Well, maybe he shouldn't have access to it. Well, maybe if I'm going to teach him how to use a weapon, I need to, if I'm going to give him a weapon or allow him access to a weapon, maybe I should actually teach him how to use this weapon, sit down and have a conversation with him as to when and why he should use this weapon. Not that it's something to be played with, or not that you can just one day not have a good day and decide to take someone else's life. So when we're talking about laws, what is the real intention and purpose of those laws? Now, I have my own conspiracy theory. Everybody has a conspiracy theory. My conspiracy theory is, okay, we have this urban community and they're doing way too much. We can't control them. They're already fighting against each other. They're already shooting each other. Let's just pass this law. Because when that law is passed, permitless carry, now the police officer really don't have the right to stop you because you're carrying a weapon. What does that do to the community? That put everybody in arms. Yes, we know it's good cops and it's bad cops. It's good white people and it's bad white people. It's good black people and it's good black people. So we have that in every sector of life, good versus evil. But when you have when you already have a situation and you do something like that, I receive it as you're adding fuel to the fire. So in and through it all, we talk about the eclipse. All the research that's been done on the eclipse says America is under judgment. There's always a sacrifice. There's always going to be blood on the land. So where are we really? Where are we? Because it's those little things. You know what I mean? Those little things become big things. And as long as things are going on and it doesn't affect you, It's easy to read an article and say, oh my God. But when it happens to you and your family or your loved ones, it's just like in the urban community, it's known. And in Reverend Oliver, I know you've heard this. Snitches get stitches. I'm not gonna tell because I'm not a snitch. But when it happens to your loved one, you're crying out for somebody to say something. We have to get I use this as a tagline: learn, unlearn, and relearn. It's time to relearn. The Bible tells us to renew our mind daily. What no longer serves us, we need to start shaving that off. And that's in all communities. If it no longer serves us, where do we really go from here? Because what has happened and what has been set before us, it's really not working. It's
Thank
not
you.
working.
No, thank you. I think that Andrea, you had said something. Would you like to reiterate what you said? He was responding to you, something you said. Andrea, are you there?
Okay, look like she put something in the chat as well. Oh, in the chat, she wrote, "Thank you for bringing up the need for a driver's license and training."
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. So anybody else would like to comment on what has been discussed thus so far? How about John O'Connor?
Hi, Reverend Oliver. Thank you,
Hello.
Dr. Madeline, for all your precious wisdom and sharing, and stirs things up a lot. Yeah, I think it's wonderful to have this kind of conference. I don't know how you have any specifics on that, how long and how many, this kind of thing, but be good to know about that eventually. Yeah, I think having the different topics would be a really important thing. And for me, I envision a conference would be primarily, it'd be a lot of focus would be on group discussion. Try to categorize the different issues that we've had presentations on, and people can sign up to that kind of panel, kind of a group, and then on a smaller scale, have a lot more interaction going on between the people about the different programs. So that's how I could see that would be really helpful. Like I say, best practices, get in, get down, get the discussion, and those who really, especially lead in that area, to really fine tune and explain exactly how they have succeeded in using a certain method. Sometimes in the school, sometimes in the police department, business, or in dealing with gangs and this kind of thing. And so I think this is kind of I think it would be a way to reinforce one another and try to make connection with each other, to share ideas and then get some kind of concrete way. For example, I also think that we should, I say, make categories, but one central category would be that about dealing with the presence of God, influence of God in the lives of so many of these people, as speakers that we had, and how they were transformed and changed from someone behind bars to becoming mayor of a local, a pretty good, fair-sized city here in Kansas, this kind of thing. I think those kind of things need to be put out there by our leadership, Reverend Oliver, your leadership, and Dr. Madeline, and put these things up front, which are the most important things we feel are really needed in discussion, and bring about some kind of a, I guess you might say, revelation, or kind of a opening up of our minds about what really moves this world, and our faith and our practice, and the reality of a God that's present and working in our lives and in our world is so central to all of us, and we need to have that, I think, as a forefront. So yeah, I think that's kind of what I can see as important things, and get people really to plan to give their most and find their best way to perform and make things work. So yeah, I think good preparation would be good. Also, I think it may be like if you at the end of a conference, if you have a way to collect all the different ideas that people have during these group discussions and networking, that have at the end of the conference, you have a sharing of what would be the most, what's the result of all the discussion. And I think that could be really very, very valuable, important to have like a concluding understanding of what what it was all about. What are the most important points that were discussed. So.
Yeah, thank you, John, for that. One point that I thought about was I think we need to categorize the different outreach structures that we have been presented with the law enforcement, their interaction with the community, mental health, social activity. I know Pamela, she wants to be on the board for Pam Johnson from New Jersey. And she had categorized different preventions, post-prevention or post situations and intervention. So she had like 3 different programs, and they all function in conjunction with one another. And then you had the pastors going out and utilizing their skill set. And then you had people like General Bray and the other general. We have the various in the education system. A gentleman who discussed how important just the male figures were walking around in the school. What does that entail? Why is that? Then emergency situation where you do have mass shootings. And the system so far it seems like it's not working. Kids just get on the ground and cover themselves up when they're on the first floor. All they have to do is go out the window. How do we change that? Those are the categories, and then how they all work in tandem together. So I was thinking while you were talking, how do we structure the conference accordingly? I was thinking that, you want to pick the best practices, the best ones that on each one of those levels, and then from there, have maybe 3 people, give 5 minutes each, and then have a follow-up discussion. Then everybody can chime in, have group discussions, break out into different groups. Yeah. So anyway, thank you for that.
That's good. Yeah, like that.
Anyone else that would like just to open up and share a few points? We don't have everyone on here. They late today trying to get so many things going on. Any Dr. Madeline, you have anything else to say in reference to that? Recidivism is another piece that we didn't.
Yes. I think it would be powerful if each organization has some type of pamphlet or some type of written documentation that could be put in pamphlet form to be able to see what each one entails, even by bullet points. The major things that they have, the major services they have to offer. Mm-hmm. And I think if you have access to those as you're going through them, then you can kind of categorize them as to where they fit, who fit under mental health, who fit under who's placed under criminal justice, who's placed under social services and things of that nature.
Right.
That will cut it down. That will cut down a lot of time.
Right. And also we want to make sure a lot of people get time to say a few things as well. Right. Mm-hmm. So, and also the whole gang violence thing too. Jobs. I think, what was the gentleman's name? Oh, wait a minute. He talked about jobs, getting jobs was his way.
Was Brad Carson or?
Yeah, Brad Carson. Cutting down on uh, gang violence or uh, kids hanging out in the street that are becomes a target for gang members, and also the gang members being an intricate part in the process of helping others get a job and getting themselves jobs. So that job creations and how did the community play a role in that, of hiring them, for giving second chances, opening those doors that normally wouldn't be open to them. I do remember sometimes it was not always easy getting a job coming out of high school or junior high school. We used to get work permits. And sometimes just don't, it wasn't an easy process, So how do we make it more easier for the kids in order for them to get those jobs? Because at those times they're kind of ambitious and they have a lot of hope. So when they go out there and they're rejected and they're constantly rejected, then that also plays a strategic part, a very critical part, excuse me, in formulating hopeless behavior. Hopelessness triggers certain, behaviors that become unbecoming to the community.
Reverend Oliver, do you have any idea when end of the year, a few months from now, or it's a...
Well, I'm thinking of June and July.
Okay.
I have to really look at the calendar because we have so many things in June and July. I want to get it out and try to make it an annual conference. Because we can, there's so many wonderful institutions that we can begin to bridge with as well. But I think what needs to be done is create a holistic, out of the best practice curriculum or something like that, institutional curriculum. Yeah. So June or July.
Okay, thank you.
And another good resource would be a skill center. Everybody's not made for college. However, they have the yearning for a hands-on skill. So to be able to have access to a skill center where they could actually go in, even for those coming out of prison, like my husband's business is Recycle Force. It's a social enterprise. Those guys come out of prison and they're actually cleaning up the area with recycling. They learn to use things to recycle materials, use machines to recycle materials. So in that process, it gives them an opportunity to gain a skill, receive certification, and be gainfully employed while they're doing it, and even more so once it's completed. So a kid that's already struggling in school, he's not going to look at a college application. But if he could have access to a skill center, that he might sign up for, because he'll see his work even as he's moving along. He can see where he is an asset to a company. My grandkids, they go to vocational schools. So when they graduate, they'll have a skill. The two that's graduating this year, one is in auto mechanics, and he's already on the side doing tune-ups and oil changes. So he's good. God bless him. He's going to West Virginia State University in the fall. And the other one is into construction, but they already have the skill set to get them started. So that will be another resource to add to this, for those guys that might be challenged in those areas.
Wow. Yeah. And I think that's what we have discussed in previous programs. The lack of or the deletion of these, they were mandatory classes that we had to take. I remember in high school, and that was shop class
Yep.
and automatic.
Okay.
They were, and you didn't pass unless you went to those. So they don't have those. I remember they had a little, a shop, a wood shop down in the classroom in the basement somewhere, and an auto mechanic shop in the basement somewhere with a car. We had to go there and learn different parts and what is this a chassis, all those kind of things. Yeah, so they don't have that anyway. And then they had a home economics class for girls.
Yes.
They thought now girls will just have to stand. No, but it was a skill set, right?
That's right.
Skill
That's
set.
right.
That's not are not made for college, but there's some people who are just extraordinary with their hands. But if they don't have that outlet, then they become idle. And when they become idle, you know the results of it. Yeah. I think that's what we have to push even the system to reenact that kind of access, if you will. Yeah.
Yes.
So this
Yes.
vocational school is outside of high school, or is it?
No, it's in the high school. It
Okay.
starts ninth grade.
Oh, okay.
Ninth grade. Ninth grade, you pick your course, you have they had auto mechanics, construction, dental assistant, medical assistant. You have some people that's coming out to ready to take the test for their boards to be a LPN. So it's a gambit of courses, but it's through high school.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Wow.
that's in Delaware. That's in the state of Delaware.
Oh, in Delaware. Okay. Yeah. Because they don't have that anymore in New York, DC schools. I don't see anything of that nature. That's something that needs to be duplicated or reenacted.
Right. Yeah.
We'll talk about that. Put that on there on the schedule. Yeah.
Because it's powerful because you're learning, you're getting your academics, but you're also learning, you're developing that tools, that skill set, and when you graduate, you can be gainfully employed then. And if you decide to continue your education, you're already going in with the knowledge and the experience.
That's true. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It cuts down on the idle. Right? You're already
Yes.
moving from one point to the next point, and there's no in between idle time. Yeah, that's incredible. Anything else from anyone else? Any suggestions? If not, we can we can move on. We only have 10 more minutes, but I would just like to say this is a fruitful conversation. I think I want to bring some more entities on. Those who I will be formulating, as you had seen before, but of course I went out of the country and came back, was not able to create a Zoom call where we get different minds together. Pamela Johnson, if you remember her from New Jersey, she has sent me a text. She's committed to being on the board and see how she can help facilitate a very successful conference. Dr. Bostic reached out to me a couple of days ago to remind me we have to get our brother Faulkner back on board, yourself and any other person. I would like to have a meeting to all discuss, to hear the juices, because many of them are already doing stuff. So they could probably even help out with, formulating, structuring more. Their nonprofit can help fund some of it, those kinds of things. We have to all come to the table and really make this a really successful conference and a very meaningful conference that, we can start thinking about once we can compile that silo information, different constructs that are working throughout the nation, go to the Hill. This is here. Go to this, go to the Hill and advocate. This is what really needs to be, and it works. And we have a successful collaborative efforts or collaborative solutions, best practices. How can we implement that? How can you take it from us and help us spread that around the world? around the country.
Yes.
Anyone else like to have some last comments as we come to our close? Well, I would like to say that a young lady, a little young lady, Tyler Cummings.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Right. Oh, she's wonderful.
She's amazing.
Yeah, so she has bought her ticket and she's on her way to Korea.
Oh,
Wow.
wonderful.
Yeah.
I hope she's there when I get there, because I would like to meet her in person.
Yeah.
Wow. That's great.
So meet her, grab onto her. So it's amazing how that happened, right? But she just sent me her text, got her ticket. We're working everything out, but she's on her way. So it's great. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's a good story. Yeah. So anyway, I don't want to hold, we only about 7 minutes. Just wanted to have a little fill in here, get some ideas and some thoughts on how we can move forward. And I think through this, it's saying that we're going to do it. It's going to happen, So I'll let everyone know when we can have a Zoom call. They're waiting for me, and we can move forward from there. But I want to thank everyone again. Thank you always, my dear sister. You've always been.
God bless you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And welcome home.
Yeah.
Yeah. You feeling better, our guest here now? Feeling better?
Yeah. It's a long name. I can't think of the name. It's called benign paradoxical position vertical.
Wow.
I would get up and I can't walk. I didn't realize. So it was something in my ears when I got back that I lost balance and started losing balance. But I'm much better, everyone.
Yeah.
God is good.
Good.
A little medication, so I'm doing much better.
It's called the short term is vertigo.
Vertical.
So,
right.
yeah. So you have to be careful with wind and water getting in your ears, or your equilibrium becomes off. Yeah.
It was off when I got back. I'm telling you. I didn't know what was going on.
Oh, goodness.
I woke up to try to go to the bathroom, and I'm halfway over a different part of the room. I'm saying, "What's going on, God?" But anyway,
glad you're feeling better.
I'm in the office. I'm walking, and everything is good. God bless everyone. Thank you so much always for coming on. I want to thank the audience out there. And anybody have any suggestions, please text me anytime. God bless you. And see you.
God bless.
Thank you. God bless y'all.
Thank you, Dr. Madeline. Thank you, Zachary.
Oh, you're welcome.
God bless you.
Thank you, Dr. Madeline.
You're welcome. God bless. Thank you for being here.
God bless. Thank you, Chris.
You're going to deliver, aren't you, Reverend Oliver? You're going to deliver. National conference.
It's going to happen.
And from that, Reverend Oliver, we can produce a manual.
Oh, yeah. That's another point to talk about.
Good point.
Yeah.
Practical manual. How to do it. How to get it done.
That's right.
And how to
That's
bridge.
Step by step.
What does it take to bridge, others together? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. God bless. Take care.